right, guys. Shall we get started? Welcome to the Iconic Wealth series. These are conversations that we're having on wealth, stewardship, modern money, and the women and men who move early. I'm Hannah Elsie. I'm the founder of the Iconicity Movement and host of the Iconic Life podcast. And you guys, this space is really about expanding the conversation around what wealth, leadership, freedom, and opportunities can look like for women in this next era. These are the conversations I wish I had been invited to. I wish more women were invited to. These conversations around ownership, positioning, access, creating overflow. And like I always say, co-creating lives we are wildly in love with while understanding where the world is moving financially. So, whether you are deep in this world already or just curious as you're on my feed today, you're in the right place. So, let's talk about it because I deeply believe that iconic women don't just watch the future happen, we learn, we lead, and we move with intention. So pour your coffee, tea, water, whatever, wine if it's later in the day for you, depending on where in the world you are. And let's get into today's conversation. Okay. So this one is just a solo episode for me today, but it's really something deep for me because I want you guys to go with me here. Okay. Just imagine, imagine in your mind right now, when you hear the words wealthy woman, what do you picture? When you picture a wealthy woman, like truly, really wealthy, right? Like money wise, what's the first image that comes to mind? What does she look like? How does she move? What kind of person is she? Do you picture an Aubrey Hepburn type in fancy clothes with a little miniature toy dog and her Birkin bag? Or is she a high-powered executive, maybe out of touch with your lived reality, on the phone, making deals as her bodyguard opens doors for her? She has an entourage. Or is it maybe the spoiled rich housewives of whatever city they're showcasing now, who are kind of unable to see past their Botox and fillers and tearing each other apart behind each other's backs while pretending to be friends? What do you see? And when you answer that question for yourself, how does that make you feel? I asked myself that question and I truly didn't love my answer. The image I had in my head was certainly not someone who I wanted to be or who I could even resonate with. And that stopped me in my tracks because if the version of wealthy woman that I had been absorbing my whole life was someone I secretly didn't respect or didn't trust or definitely didn't want to become, maybe silently was judging, then no wonder I had been putting ceilings on myself without even realizing it. Most of us have a somewhat complicated relationship with the idea of wealthy women or wealthy people in general, right? And drop in the comments what your thoughts are, what came out for you. Okay. Um, so yeah, a complicated relationship with the idea or the image of the wealthy woman. Maybe not rich in a theoretical sense, but women who are visibly, unapologetically, abundantly wealthy, right? Not just financially, maybe. And I do mean complicated in both directions here, because like we're both drawn to it and we maybe judge it. Sometimes in the same breath or sentence, right? Sometimes in ourselves. I know because I've done it, right? And I think this is a conversation that is worth kind of pulling that thread on today and examining it, going a little deeper. So, mm, women, especially good women, women with values, women who care deeply about the people around them, about their families, about their communities, were raised to think about money and desire in a very specific way. I know I was, okay? We were taught in 1,000 different ways, both out loud and subconsciously, perhaps, that wanting too much is dangerous, that ambition needs to be qualified or justified, that if you want more, you better have a very good reason. And even then, keep it humble. We watched women who took up space, became visible, get cut down, right? We've watched ambition get labeled as selfish or greedy, right? We've internalized that the highest version of a good woman was one who gave everything, 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 and needed very little in return. Whew. And that message came from somewhere, it came from generations of women who had to fight just to be taken seriously, who were penalized, right, for wanting too much, maybe. But I think that we carried it further than it was ever supposed to go. And, honestly, it wasn't just cultural. The financial system itself was engineered the same way. Okay. And this can be extrapolated to men as well. But we're talking with my girlfriends across the table today. Okay. Traditional banking, traditional finance extracted, my gosh, you guys, 1.2 trillion in fees and profits from everyday users in 2025, last year. Not from corporations, okay, from us, you and I, from our deposits, our transactions, our savings that are sitting in accounts that earn almost nothing for us, while the banks profit off of every move we make. A system that is designed to extract from the people using it. And a culture that told those same people that wanting more is greedy, makes us wrong, makes us bad. And I believe that is not accidental. That's the environment we've all been trying to build wealth inside of, right? I think a lot of women secretly desire more and then judge themselves for desiring it. I know that was me. But you guys, I believe that there is a different way to look at this. What if, what if overflow was actually part of the assignment? Let that land. What if overflow was actually part of the assignment? What if a woman who is deeply rooted in her values, in her faith, her family, her community, what if that woman having more resources doesn't make her a threat? What if that made her more of what she already is? What if, what if wealth actually makes good women and men more powerful for good, for greater impact? That's the question that changed something for me. Because the narrative that I had absorbed was that wealth, goodness was in like attention of some sort, like the opposites, right? That the more you accumulated, the more I accumulated, the more I risked losing something essential about who I was, my identity, right? What God wanted me to be. But I do not believe that anymore. And I haven't for a while. I believe the opposite. I wholeheartedly believe that women who have built overflow, she has financial, energetic, relational overflow. She has more to give, more to protect, sure, more to direct towards the things that she actually cares about, that she's actually called here and created to do. That image, the wealthy woman archetype that we were handed, right? She was cold, she was cutthroat. She either inherited and was out of touch with reality, or she earned it by sacrificing everything warm and good and nurturing about herself, right? The devil wears Prada, right? Right. She didn't have time for her kids. She didn't have a real community. She was alone at the top of something that didn't actually satisfy her, didn't fulfill her, and she didn't care about anyone but herself and her ambition, right? Does that sound familiar? Because that story That story's everywhere, right? On movies, on shows, TV, the whispered warnings, right? The quiet judgments, the things that are said, right? And I think this story has kept a lot of brilliant, capable, deeply good women from going all the way in because we don't want to become her. We don't want to be Cruella de Vil, right? So we stayed comfortable, we stayed palatable, we stayed small enough to be loved and valued while wishing that we could do more, while knowing that we are created for more. You guys, a resourced woman changes environments just by walking into them. And moms, I want to speak to you guys for just a minute because this part is specifically for you. Because as a mom, I'm going to speak, right? There is a version of motherhood that says the ultimate expression of love is sacrifice. Give everything, need nothing. Put yourself last and call it devotion. Call it being a mom. Mom life. That instinct is real, right? I mean, I live it too, you guys. But I've also watched what happens to the women who run on that empty for too long, who work themselves to the bone, who give and give and give, and quietly, without wanting to, begin to resent it, who never let themselves want anything because wanting feels like a betrayal. And like I said, I'm being very honest and very vulnerable here because I am raising both hands for myself, right? This was a journey I walked for many, many years. You guys, what if the most powerful thing that you could model for your children, especially your daughters, future mamas, is a woman who built something, who decided she deserved more and then went and created it. Her iconic life, right? Who showed them that abundance is not a character flaw. That is the mama I am now. And I want to be and chose to be, right? The one who goes first so they can know it's possible. The woman who decided it was a both and situation, not an either or. And if that's you, drop me an emoji in the chat, okay? In myself and in the women I work with, we are often so much better at giving than we are at receiving. And I don't just mean receiving compliments, though you guys, that's actually a part of it. And I'm saying this with all love because when is the last time that you accepted a compliment without immediately downplaying it, reframing it, or returning it to justify it to yourself? Ouch, right? Yeah. I literally had to train myself with intention to switch out of that. And this is, you guys, this is something that we go deeper on inside of my iconic programs, right? Hint, come join us in Iconic 365, which I'm launching June 1st, but you sign up now for the cheaper pricing, right? But what I'm talking about here, what I mean here is how good are you at receiving money, right? That's what we're talking about today. Receiving opportunity, receiving success without immediately minimizing it or giving credit for it away or shrinking away from it, not fully embracing it and standing into it. I talk about this a lot, the embodiment part of it. There's a nervous system piece here that is real. We can't ignore it. A lot of women have a physiological response to expansion, to more, right? That feels like danger. Because at some level, we were taught that too much visibility, too much success, too much abundance would cost us something. Maybe it's belonging. Like, will the people that we've been in community with, our loved ones, our family, will they still accept us if we receive more? Will we lose love, a relationship, our safety? So we self-sabotage. We hesitate. We leave money on the table. We say yes to less than we are worth. And part of the real work is learning to let good things land and take root and grow, to receive without flinching and pulling away. And again, this is part of what we do in Iconic 365. Learning to calibrate these stretchy new spaces as normal, safe, accepted. We celebrate to calibrate, and we do it in community together. You guys, What if overflow was actually part of your assignment? A word of an idea that shifted everything for me was stewardship. Okay. Ambition for the sake of accumulation, that doesn't resonate with most of us, right? That's not actually what we're after. It's not that I just want to like have all this money and sit on top of it and hold it, right? It's not what we are created for, what we are placed here to do in this life. But stewardship, that's different. Stewardship says, I'm building this because I have been entrusted with something and I intend to multiply it. Not hoard it, not just consume it for myself, but multiply it and release it, right? To be a conduit for it. You guys hear me on this. Women with resources, we create options for themselves, for their families, for their communities that they're part of. When a woman has more, she doesn't just spend differently. She invests differently. She gives differently. She shows up in rooms differently. She funds things that don't get funded otherwise. She opens doors that would otherwise stay closed, right? She helps dreams take root for others that would maybe otherwise go unknown, unrealized. And you guys, that is not selfish. That's stewardship, and we need more of it. I'm not interested in women becoming wealthier just to consume more, just to buy another bag, just to get another, outfit, another pair of cute shoes, whatever, right? I'm interested in what becomes possible when deeply good women and men have more access, influence, and freedom. What we can do, the impact we can bring to the world. Hmm. So this conversation is for a specific woman I'm speaking to, okay? So if this is pricking up your ears, lean in and listen, okay? I'm talking to the woman who has been curious about building more, but has maybe this quiet voice that says, who do you think you are? I'm talking to the woman who works so hard, gives generously already, leads with integrity, and still somehow, deep inside, she feels like wanting more is greedy, is selfish. Not for a woman of faith, not for a loving woman, not for a mom, right? A wife. I'm talking to the woman who is tired, so tired of playing it safe with her finances because safe stopped feeling safe a long time ago. Can we say amen? Inflation, hello? And I'm talking to the woman who already knows somewhere deep in her gut that she is supposed to be doing more with money than she currently is. She just hasn't found the right framework, the right people, the right entry point yet, right? And that is what the iconicity movement and my iconic wealth spaces are built for. Not for women who are just starting to think about money. I mean, you can, right? But it's for women, whether or not you're a beginner or in this, but it's for women who are ready to move, who are ready to stop spectating and thinking and start building. We're movers here. We decide and we go, right? We commit. And, if you listen to some of my old conversations, even the one that we started last week with Megan, we're going to have more coming up the next couple of days here. Part of why I've been so drawn to what's happening in this space with decentralized finance, with the new infrastructures coming, right? With Wi-Fi, with Web3 projects, with the way money infrastructure is shifting and being rebuilt completely now, is because I see it as an extension of this exact conversation. Because for the first time in history, access to sophisticated financial tools is not gated by who you know, which country you're from, what family name you were born into, or how much you already have, if you have a hedge fund, trust fund, whatever. No, no. This is a stewardship conversation. This is a woman's conversation. We can start with whatever little we have and grow it. The women who understand these systems early on, who move with discernment and intention into this space with wisdom, they're not just building their own wealth. They're changing the velocity of what is possible in their families and their communities. And that gets me genuinely excited. I am truly passionate about getting more resources and more opportunities into the hands of good women and good men, right? No, like hedge fund pre-sale, no teams taking tokens at a discount before you get to see them or access them. Guys, 86% of the total supply is mineable by regular people in this project, right? That's architecture, right? And for a woman who has spent her whole life in a system that extracted from her while calling her greedy for wanting more, that's a distinction that really matters. You don't need, technical knowledge. You don't need to be a crypto bro or, tech bro, whatever, or sister, to get started. You need a phone, an iPad, or a laptop, and willingness to move. And that's the only qualification. And then, getting into these programs, Wi-Fi, Super One, all these different programs that I'm in, um, being the woman who doesn't talk herself out of it in 3 weeks, who doesn't shrink when things start to feel uncertain, who keeps deciding and committing like the woman she's becoming, even when life gets loud, all the things. You guys, that is the identity work, right? That's the identity piece of the work that I do. And that is part of what I created, Iconic 365, what that's built for. WeFi, the other projects, these are vehicles to grow your wealth, sure. But Iconic 365 is the environment, the community where you become the woman who actually drives that vehicle forward, right? Um, I've got the links and I'll drop the sign up link for Iconic 365 in the comments. But DM me if you're ready, right? If you're curious, if you're ready to go get started creating wealth, getting into these projects, seeing things happen, let me know, okay? So as we're closing out, if you came into this conversation today feeling any kind of tension around wanting more, sit with us. The world doesn't need you to want less. It needs you to build more and steward it well. I'm going to say that again. The world doesn't need you to want less. It needs you to build more and steward it well. That's the iconic woman, the iconic man, right? Not the one who shrinks or pulls away, right? Not the one who apologizes for their ambition, their desire, the one who builds with intention and releases with generosity. There's so much joy in giving and seeing, someone blessed through work that you're able to bring to the place. Oh my gosh, right? We get a lot out of giving. But that's who we're becoming in this community. And I'm so glad that you're here for it. So, again, if you're watching this live or on replays, drop in the comments what landed for you guys today. What are you working through still? If you're catching this on the podcast replay, send me a message, send me a DM or comment on the YouTube channel so I can hear what you guys are thinking, what you're hearing, right? I want to know where you guys are at with this. Want to help support you guys as we're going through this. It's a learning thing, right? But thank you guys. Thank you for being part of today's conversation. My hope with this series, the Iconic Wealth series, volume 2, because this is the second volume that we're doing. It's simple. That more women and men feel informed, empowered, expanded, and invited into these conversations around wealth, opportunity, stewardship, and the future that we are helping shape and create together. Because again, wealth in the hands of good women and men create ripple effects far beyond what we can see even today, or maybe even in our lifetime, right? You guys, if today's conversation sparked something for you, stay close, lean in. Like I said, reach out to me. I'm going to drop the sign up for Iconic 365 in the comments. If you sign up before June 1st, you get the best, beta pricing, whatever, the cheapest price, the best price will ever be. It's going to go up on June 1st. So, but come and join us. Choose your iconic life. Create that, right? Share this episode with a friend. Share this replay with your friends. Send it to them, right? Come join us inside these conversations. Come into our private spaces and let's build together. Let's link arms and go fast and far. I really believe that conversations like these matter because when we understand wealth, systems, opportunity, and stewardship differently, guys, our families change, our lives change, and then our communities change, and entire futures change. So, if something in today's episode again sparked that possibility, that curiosity, that expansion for you, follow that spark. Okay. Stay curious, stay discerning, and stay open to what is possible. And until next time, keep paying attention, keep expanding, and keep moving like the iconic woman that you already are. And I'll see you in the next conversation.